I'm pleased to hear publicly announced that beginning March 22nd, you and I will be able to purchase Girl Scout cookies in the neighborhood of the Riverside Church. I'm pretty sure that this congregation, whom I've already come to know as filled with opinions, could have extensive conversations about which type of Girl Scout cookie is the best one, but let's focus here. Did you hear me? March 22nd. All I can say is I pity the one who decided to give up cookies for Lent. Though I may be mistaken, it's my impression that Girl Scout cookies are among the most universally appreciated. Every year, for example, I read Facebook post after Facebook post, pledging to walk past the Girl Scouts sidewalk tables and abysmally failing for the 4th time in 3 days. I've even learned recently that there's an app you can download to your phone that will tell you exactly where you can buy Girl Scout cookies. And some of us have already installed it on our phones. The Girl Scouts have been selling cookies since 1922, when local troops made cookies from a special recipe, packaged them in wax paper bags with Girl Scout seals, and sold them door to door for 35 cents a dozen. And whoever thought of selling Girl Scout cookies, actually her name was Florence Neal from Chicago, was a genius because, as we know, people wait all year long for that special season when all of our friends sheepishly walk around the office selling on behalf of their own personal Girl Scouts. But the cookies sell themselves. They really do. And so I was thinking this week, it's one thing to sell Girl Scout cookies. Those little ones put on their cute uniforms, set up their tables right in the middle of the sidewalk, and those boxes of cookies fly off the shelves. Delicious, addictive cookies purchased for a good cause to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. What's not to love? I confess just a little bit of envy this morning as I hear our passage from Mark's gospel today, in which Jesus lays out the hard words of his marketing slogan: "Take up your cross and follow me." Today we continue our exploration of the gospel passages presented to us by the lectionary this Lent in our theme of holy conversations, interactions that Jesus had with his disciples and that we have with God, conversations that lead us to deeper and more meaningful understanding of what it means to call ourselves followers of Jesus Christ. And today we find ourselves in almost the exact midpoint of the Gospel of Mark, in which time Jesus decides it is about time he gets serious with the folks who say they want to follow him. When we come upon Jesus here, he's explaining to his disciples how he is expecting rough waters ahead for him, for them even. And he uses cheery words like suffering, rejection, death. Now recall what I mentioned last week, that all throughout the Gospel of Mark, the disciples who were following Jesus were forever misunderstanding him and misunderstanding the gig they'd signed up for. Some were just taken with Jesus' miracles. Some were looking for a political leader. Others hoping for a professional advancement. Frustration was getting pretty close to the surface by this time in Mark's story. So Jesus decided it was time to disabuse his disciples of any misconceptions about who he was and what he'd come to do. The Son of Man will undergo great suffering, will be rejected, will be killed. He didn't even try to sugarcoat it. Jesus' word for his disciples that day was a hard word. Look, friends, we have had enough time together that you should know by now I am not messing around. This gospel I'm preaching is countercultural. It is unpopular. It's offensive to people in power, and it is dangerous to anyone who becomes its adherent. It will ask you to do unlikely and unpopular things, to give up the whole world, basically. And it will make the people around you really, really mad. Jesus went even further then, referencing death on a cross, the most heinous symbol of Roman persecution, the worst way they knew anyone could die. A mention that made everyone think immediately of violence, horror, dread. So you can understand Peter's concern when he interrupts. Please, Jesus, could I have a word? I think Jesus must have been the political handler's worst nightmare in that moment, and Peter tried his best. Please, Jesus, please, let's reframe the narrative. These are hard words. They're not going to draw people in. They're not going to make the sale. Not at all. In fact, if people hear what you're saying and take you seriously, they are going to run in the opposite direction. But then the text says that Jesus stopped Peter's protest pretty forcefully, if you ask me, and launched into the hardest words of all. If you want to be my followers, deny yourselves, take up your cross, and follow me. You may note that there is no app you can download to your phone for upcoming opportunities to be ridiculed, to suffer, and to die for the sake of the gospel. I know you're all familiar with Danish poet and author Hans Christian Andersen, who wrote a quaint little fairy tale you and I know as The Emperor's New Clothes. You remember the story goes like this. An emperor of a prosperous city hires two dishonest salesmen who tell him they will sew him a suit of fine, fine cloth, from a cloth that is more beautiful than anyone has ever seen before. The thing is that the cloth is so beautiful, it's invisible to anyone who is stupid or who is unfit for his position. Now, the emperor can't see the cloth, but he doesn't want to appear stupid or unfit for his position, so he acts like he does. When the salesmen tell the king that the suit is finished, they pretend to dress him and take him out on a procession through the capital, showing off his new clothes. Of course, everyone has heard the tale of the magic cloth, and nobody wants to look stupid or unfit for their position, so everyone claps politely as the king walks by, stark naked. The whole charade is ruined, though, when during the course of a procession, a young child watching from the sidelines yells, "Hey, the king is not wearing any clothes." In Mark's passage today, Jesus is a little like that child. He's doing the most audacious thing. He's telling the truth, and the truth here is so very hard. Jesus asks his disciples, Jesus asks us in this conversation to deny ourselves, to turn the focus of our lives firmly away from our own comfort and gain toward the hard work of relationship with each other and with God. He's asking us to give up using the things we find so valuable, possessions, position, to define who we are and what we care about. He's asking us to know in the deepest parts of who we are what really, really matters, and to risk everything. Everything, just open our hands and give it away, to live out the radical gospel of loving God and loving each other. Jesus won't listen to Peter here, and Jesus won't let you and me off the hook either. Jesus didn't come to make us feel comfortable by spouting platitudes and shiny promises of comfort and success. Jesus came to show us the way to life, and he wasn't scared to tell the truth, the hard truth, about how it is exactly we get there. It's no wonder that the foot of the cross was very sparsely populated the day that Jesus died. There was nothing about the specter of the cross that proclaimed, "Why don't you just take it easy?" Or, "Follow me and you'll have no more pain." I think that day the disciples watched with horror and remembered the echo of Jesus' words that day when he told them the hard truth. And maybe then the realization dawned for them. He really meant it. He really meant it for them. And he really means it for us. It's the greatest paradox, friends, that we find the meaning of our lives, the ease to our pain, the sense that we're home and that all is right with the world, not when we try any quick fix to feel better. No, we gain the very meaning of our lives when we give them away. When we look at the suffering we experience and decide, regardless, we are in this for the long haul, followers and disciples of Jesus, the Christ. Because it is by acknowledging the suffering and the fear in our human lives and getting up to follow anyway that you and I will finally find our places in God's greater plan for the world. Places from which we can tell the truth about our lives, places where we look to the left and to the right and realize we are not alone, places in which our lives become small parts of something bigger and more wonderful than we ever could have imagined. And isn't this what we long for as we gather in this place the second Sunday of Lent? And isn't this what we long for as we gather around this table, the table of Christ? We tell the truth about our lives. We tell the truth about what it means to follow Jesus. We look to each other for resolve and companionship. We gather the courage together to live into this hard word. Deny yourself. Take up your cross. Follow me. Amen.